Today we are going to be talking screenplay, got my list here, score, song, sound, makeup and hairstyling, costume design, cinematography, production design, film editing, visual effects, and of course, best director. Welcome to another Oscars Week video. Welcome back, or if you are new here, welcome. My name is Katrina, and usually I make bookish content here on this channel at least twice a week, but this week we are doing all movies all the time, which would normally be reserved for the weekend. I will leave my Oscars Week playlist linked up above because I do have standalone reviews for a few of these movies, and I also have my previous Oscar content for you. Make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss out on future Oscar chat and also those videos when I return to making bookish content as usual. This year I do feel like you either have to have caught these in cinemas before they went off, have enough money to rent them in your home, or they're just already on streaming. It's very polarizing. So there are a few films that I'm not going to be able to comment on. However, this is where we're going to talk about all those things I mentioned at the beginning of the video, kind of everything else that's been nominated. I will try and leave timestamps in the description box below in case you want to hear my thoughts on a particular category. We've got Fight For You from Judas and the Black Messiah, Hear My Voice from The Trial of Chicago 7, Husavik from the Eurovision Song Contest, have a whole video talking about that one, Low Sigh or Scene from The Life Ahead, and Speak Now from One Night in Miami. I have not seen The Life Ahead. I could not access that film, and so I'm not going to be able to talk about that one. However, not a lot of the other songs actually stick in my head. I know that Speak Now was obviously sung by Leslie Odom Jr., who's playing Sam Cooke in One Night in Miami, but again, it wasn't particularly memorable from that film. There's a lot of other things that stick out in my head from that film, and I think that Leslie Odom Jr. Does deserve his acting nomination, but not particularly the song. So I think my pick for this one, even though I hated the film, would possibly be Husavik, if I'm saying that right, from the Eurovision Song Contest, the Song of the Fire Saga, just because to me it was a more catchy song and kind of stuck with me, and even though I really hated the film, I like the song. So there you have my pick for that one. Let me know in comments what your pick would be for that one, definitely. And then we have makeup and hairstyling. So we have Emma, Hillbilly Elegy, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Mank, and Pinocchio. Now, Pinocchio, again, is not one that I am able to access, so I'm not able to comment on that one. However, I think all of the others are really strong contenders for makeup and hairstyling because all of them are kind of like of a period. I would say that they kind of sort of had a bit of an easier job with Emma and with Mank. Mank as well as in black and white, so it's interesting how they'll have done that to stand out in the black and white filming. Emma, again, lots of people have bonnets on. It's the kind of like classic Jane Austen adaptation hairstyling. I think they did a good job. Is it Oscar worthy? I don't personally think so. So for me, it's between Hillbilly Elegy and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, the costuming for that, I think it fully deserves that, and we will go on to talk about that. But I don't know. I specifically talked about the fact that the hair that they did, this was before it was nominated, the hair that they did in Hillbilly Elegy, when you compare what the actors looked like compared to the real people that they're based on, you can really see that they've really worked on their hairstyle and their makeup. You know, we've aged Glenn Close, and we've just... For me, that one is the winner, personally. I specifically mentioned the makeup and hairstyling when we were watching the film, which I didn't for any of the others. I mentioned the costumes for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. But for me, yeah, makeup and hairstyling, Hillbilly Elegy. Have a whole review talking about that video. Have a whole video talking about that movie. Video review. Some words in some order. So yeah, if you want to hear my full thoughts on Hillbilly Elegy, because I have a lot of thoughts on that one, you can go ahead and watch that video. So yeah, let's talk costume design. We've got Emma, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Mank, Mulan, and Pinocchio. Again, can't comment on Pinocchio because I did not see it. But yeah, costume, again, Emma, we've got the kind of classic Austen stuff. And it's interesting, if you read, I think it's on IMDb, but if you read sort of into the film, you can see where other actors have worn the costumes that get worn in this film in other of the time adaptations, so other Jane Austen adaptations, other stuff from that time period, the costumes get reused, and I love that. It's very sort of carbon conscious, but also it's cool knowing that that was worn by another person in another film that's similar to this one. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, I loved the costumes in that one. I thought that they were just fabulous, and there was points where it's, you know, it's quite a small cast, but I love the fact that the costumes are, you know, so detailed and so timely, and, you know, people are sort of changing their shoes and taking on and off jackets and taking on and off hats. And so I really, really liked that one. Mank, again, it must have been difficult having the black and white filming to deal with, so I imagine that there's another level of thought went into the costuming for that one, so I can see why it's been nominated. And then Mulan, I really did think that the costuming in Mulan was spectacular. It was beautiful. It was, you know, cinematically, it was very, very pretty to look at, even if it wasn't, you know, one of my favourite films of the year. So for me, again, it's between Ma Rainey's Black Bottom and Mulan. I specifically commented on Ma Rainey's Black Bottom as we were watching it, so that would be my pick, but I think that Mulan could easily take it as well, and I'd be happy if either of them got it. Then moving on to sort of cinematography and production design. Cinematography, if you saw my review of News of the World or my review of Nomadland, both of which will be in the playlist, or I will link them up above, you will know that I specifically spoke about the cinematography in both of those and how good they would look on the big screen, whether they were filmed for the big screen, whether they were designed for the big screen, etc., etc. I would say that the News of the World cinematography was just, it was on another level. So yeah, we have, Judas and the Black Messiah, Mank, News of the World, Nomadland, and The Trial of the Chicago 7. Judas and the Black Messiah, the cinematography didn't specifically stand out for me. Mank as well, it's difficult because I chose not to finish that movie, and so again, cinematography wise, because it's in black and white, it's quite difficult. Then yeah, News of the World and Nomadland are obviously up there in terms of specifically the cinematography for me. Then the Trial of the Chicago 7, again, I think that was a little bit more, well, it felt to me like the cinematography was a little bit more to do with the choice of the director and maybe some of the kind of like lighting and editing rather than actually the cinematography as a whole, because there was definitely directorial choices based on the look of what was going on at the screen at the time. However, it didn't stand out specifically in terms of cinematography for me. So for me, I would pick News of the World. I think it's an underrated movie. I'm glad it's picked up a couple of nominations, and yeah, I would definitely pick News of the World for this one. But let me know, like, if you watched all of Mank, did the cinematography stand out for you? Is it something that I missed by not watching the end there? Then we have production design. We have The Father, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Mank, News of the World, and Tenet. I am not going to watch Tenet. It's one of these that it was like the only movie that was on when cinemas reopened. I could have gone at the time. I didn't want to go to cinemas at that time. At this point, I could rent it, but I know I'm not going to like it. Like, that really, really long trailer before Star Wars, just on Christmas Day, like, what on earth was going on with that? Like, if you saw Star Wars in IMAX, you saw that 12-minute long Tenet trailer. I saw all I needed to saw. Not for me. So can't comment on that one. But anyway, see, now production design, The Father and Ma Rainey, I believe both of those were originally plays, and so they've got this like small set design to work with to give them that same feeling. And it was something that we definitely commented on watching Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and it's something that I definitely noticed watching The Father. And I think that the kind of like intensity of the father is also partly down to the production design. Again, Mank, can't really comment because I didn't finish it, but it's not something that stood out in the first 45 minutes that I gave it, so probably not that one for me. Again, News of the World, it could be a contender. I'm going to go with Ma Rainey's Black Bottom just because it's based on a play. The set felt a lot like a play. The set also gave a lot to the general feeling of the film and the general kind of like takeaways that you get from the film, as well as the atmosphere that the characters have to work with. And so that would be my pick. But again, The Father, News of the World could also take it, and I would be more than happy. And then we have film editing as well. We have The Father, Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, and The Trial of the Chicago 7. Now, I mentioned previously that the cinematography aspect of The Trial of the Chicago 7 I thought might have come from the direction and the editing. And so I do like the way that that one was edited. Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, it's not something that particularly stood out for me. However, Sound of Metal, I thought that that was edited really nicely. It was the way that it was put together and the way it was constructed over time. It kind of, you get a similar feeling with Nomadland, but it's more intense with the sound of metal, and so to me that one would just kind of like, it stands out a little bit more in this category even. The editing of Promising Young Woman as well, I did like it, but I think that for me the Sound of Metal, the way it was edited, the way we have kind of like sequences done, and the way we have Riz Ahmed's character, we get to kind of hear what he's hearing, and we get that intensity of what he's feeling. And again, the kind of like lighting in that one I think is a factor, and definitely comes down to the way it was edited as well, because some of those outdoor scenes, they must have had to have like really shot a lot of them with very different lighting, and so to edit that together is a skill for sure. And I'm back. So let's talk sound. We have Greyhound, Mank, News of the World, Soul, and Sound of Metal. I think I have not seen Greyhound, did not watch Mank all the way through, so I think you can realise by now that we're talking either News of the World, Soul, or Sound of Metal. I think that Soul and Sound of Metal for me are front runners in this one. I think that it's just going to be whether they decide to go down the route of the sound in the animation or the sound in Sound of Metal, but I really do think that Sound of Metal did the sound incredibly well, considering all the factors that they were having to take in. The fact that, you know, he's in a punk metal band, he's a drummer, he's losing his hearing, there are other people who are losing their hearing, and he goes from being in a very like nature-filled quiet place to them being in a very busy bustling downtown Paris. And so yeah, that would definitely be my pick for sound. And yeah, whilst I haven't had a chance to watch Greyhound yet, it is on my list, but I just wasn't able to squeeze it in with everything I've been reading and watching and making all these videos for you here. So then yes, we have original score. We have Der Five Bloods, which it doesn't sound right when I say that, Mank, Minari, News of the World, and Soul. Again, have not watched The Five Bloods. I put it on my Netflix list. I know it's easily accessible, but I just know I really wouldn't enjoy it. And especially after watching all the nominated shorts and being completely brought down by all of them, I just couldn't bring myself to watch it. So let me know in the comments, is it something that I should watch subsequently when I'm feeling in a slightly more sunshiny mood? And then Mank didn't finish, so that's out for me. So we have Minari, News of the World, or Soul. I would probably go for Soul for this one, since I picked Sound of Metal for sound. I think that Soul in general, well, any sort of Pixar film in general, any Disney film is always going to have a decent score. And so for it being an original score and it being, you know, about a piano player, and the like music was done by John, now I don't know if it's Baptiste or Batiste. I obviously, you know, saw him when I went to watch the Colbert Show, which was very cool. But yeah, I would pick Soul for this one. It sticks in my mind more than the other two in terms of the score as a whole, and so that is where that one comes from me. So let's talk screenplays, and then we'll move on to directing, because I think those are the only ones we have left now. So we have adapted screenplay. We have Borat, The Father, Nomadland, One Night in Miami, and The White Tiger. Again, unfortunately, The White Tiger is one I definitely want to see, but it's like nearly 3 hours long, and so just did not have the time to squeeze that in. Additionally, if you would like me to make a book versus movie video for this one, I might be happy to put that investment in next month. So if you would like that, let me know in the comments, because that is partially one of the reasons why I didn't get around to watching that one, because I know that there is a book and I think I would like it, and I think I would like the film, and so book versus movie, all about that life. So yeah, have a full standalone review for Borat, have a full review for Nomadland. I enjoyed One Night in Miami. In terms of like the actual screenplay itself, I think that the quietness of The Father just kind of like pips it for me, but I also love the lengths and stretches that Borat went to, which we'll know from my full review. But yeah, The Father, I think just because there is such a kind of like lack of dialogue, and so for it to have been adapted from, I think, a play to the movie, you've then had to take risks with putting in, we're just going to have a look here, we're just going to, you know, have a flutter of curtains here, we're just going to have a cup of tea being made here, we're just going to have a cup dropped here, rather than having, oh, she's going to say this and he's going to say this and we're going to have this and we're going to have all this action. I think for me, I would pick The Father, but I also really like the boundaries that we pushed with Borat, and so that would also be a perfectly adequate winner. Again, having not watched The White Tiger, it could be a really good adaptation, and I would like to definitely read and watch that one, so it's a tough one. Then we have original screenplay. We have Judas and the Black Messiah, which I know is based on true events, so I was interested to see it pop up in the kind of original screenplay versus the adapted. Then we have Minari, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, and The Trial of the Chicago 7. Obviously, I think all of these are also in the Best Picture category as well. So yeah, for my full thoughts on that one, make sure you've hit that notification bell so you get my full thoughts on the Best Picture category. And I have standalone review of Promising Young Woman and The Trial of the Chicago 7, which will be in my Oscars playlist. But yeah, it's a tough one. I like the story arc for Minari, definitely. I loved the way they put Promising Young Woman together, and then Sound of Metal as well, I think was also excellent. I think for me personally, for my personal preference, it would be between Promising Young Woman and Sound of Metal. A bit like when I'm kind of like thinking about and discussing my thoughts on Best Picture, personally, I would love to see Promising Young Woman take home some stuff. I think it would be fairly sort of symbolic if it did, and it was a very, very good film. But then I think the writing of Sound of Metal and the creation of that storyline and that screenplay was also excellent. So I'm just gonna sit on the fence between both of those two, and that's my thoughts for you. And then we have Best Director. We have Another Round, which I haven't talked about international film feature, because I've only kind of basically seen 2 of those. Another Round, which is also nominated for Best Director, and then Collective, which is also nominated for Best Documentary. So if you want to hear my thoughts on Collective, go ahead and watch the Best Documentary one. It's in the playlist. I'll try and remember to link it. And then Another Round. I thought I would like this one a lot more than I actually did. It's got a lot of commentary on sort of drinking culture and drinking culture in other countries, which, having lived in, well, 2 different countries in the UK that have quite different drinking cultures, and then also lived in the USA, which again has a very different drinking culture. You know, people that come to visit never believe me when I say, no, you have to bring your passport out when we go for dinner, because if you want a glass of wine with dinner, even though you are in your 60s, they're still going to need to see your passport. It's interesting. And then again, going from the state of Colorado to other states where they're like, yeah, sure, you can have as much booze as you want. I don't need to see your card. And then, yeah, we have a drive-through bar here. Interesting. And so, yeah, I really thought that I was gonna like this one more than I did. I found myself switching off and kind of turning away from it. I even missed a major plot point. So yeah, for me that one just fell short, unfortunately, and I did have high hopes for it. Then we also, yes, we have another round: Mank, Minari, Nomadland, and Promising Young Woman. And personally, I didn't enjoy Mank either, so we know that those 2 are kind of out of the running. Then we have Minari, Nomadland, and Promising Young Woman. Personally, I feel like I would have liked The Trial of Chicago 7 or One Night in Miami to have been on the directing list, because I felt like that was something that stood out for me with those films more than the film as a whole itself, the kind of directing and editing choices that were made. And so it's interesting that they're not on the list. I know that Nomadland picked up the Golden Globe and also has a female director, which is a plus point for me. And then Promising Young Woman, I think that the kind of directorial choices with that one were fairly bold as well. So yeah, I think for me, I would probably pick Nomadland for this one, because I think there was a lot of leaving it to the landscape and leaving it to Frances McDormand and the kind of like what came up naturally with some of the things that were quite sort of obvious on the screen. So I think something that's not too sort of almost like heavily directed can be a beautiful thing just as much as something which is very well like directed to the like tiniest detail. And so I think that I would probably pick Nomadland. And as I say, in terms of best international feature, normally I would have, I mean, my AMC is a 24 screen cinema. They generally will put on some more kind of like niche and indie films, and so that's where I get to see a lot of the international films. Additionally, I also have the Landmark group of theatres here in Denver that have 4 different cinemas within, you know, a maximum 20 minutes drive from me. And so again, I would have normally seen those there. Collective and Another Round I only saw because they were streaming on Hulu, so thanks Hulu for hooking me up with those. But the other ones I just could not manage to find to stream without having to pay for them, and so I didn't go there. So that's my thoughts on international feature film. It would be nice if Collective won this one. I know I've only seen those 2, but that's my thoughts on that. And there you have it. Please, 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 if you made it to this point, let me know in the comments, because I know this is a long video. I even took a whole break in this video as well. And I hope I have covered everything. Let me know if you agree, disagree, share my thoughts on any of the things that I have talked about, and also let me know what your pick is for Best Picture. Make sure you are subscribed so that that Best Picture video lands in your subscription feed. Hit that notification bell to be notified when I start making bookish content here again, and I will leave that Oscars Week playlist in the end screen for you, so that you can catch up on any of my thoughts and reviews that you may have missed. I will see you with another Oscars Week video very soon. Thank you so much for watching.